All right, and we are back live with another episode of PB Betting College Football Podcast. Mr. Paisley, great to be back. Another week, almost. Can you believe it? Midway through the season, already going into week 6. Not quite, but here we are, already in October.
Yeah, already in October. The weather, at least here in the northeast of the U.S., still a little warm, so it doesn't feel like the football weather yet. But I think some colder temperatures are coming. But yeah, not as great of a slate as we discussed as last week. That was just an all-time week, great game. So coming down off that high, but still got a lot of good matchups and a lot of good games. Got a ton of picks to give out. So it's always a good week when there's football. We're never going to complain about. So we got some good matchups here.
This is about the point of the season, too, where the weeks really mean nothing. I kind of forget what week we're at. If we weren't doing this podcast, I probably would have no idea that it's week 6, but here we are. All right, so we got 6 games lined up, couple good ones, couple not so great, like Paisley said, not the best slate in the world this week. And then we have our picks at the end of the show, our preliminary picks that we'll give out. And then, as always, we'll have our entire slate posted on X either Friday night or Saturday morning. And then, of course, at the end of the podcast, we'll do our underdog parlay of the week, which we've already hit twice. Jared has pretty much gotten every single team so far, so no pressure there. But I think we got a good one this week. And that'll be at the end of the episode. But might as well kick it off. Number 14, Iowa State going on the road at Cincinnati. Cincinnati laying a 1.5. So this is something you don't always see. The ranked team, actually the underdog here. Going into it at Cincinnati, totals at 55.5. Paisley, interested to hear your thoughts on this one. Cincinnati, remember, opened up the season on that neutral site against Nebraska. Almost pulled that game off, but that late turnover sealed it for Nebraska. And then Iowa State, of course, opened up the season over in Ireland, got the big win over Kansas State, and it's kind of been a little bit of a surprise team here early on in the season. But yeah, number 14, Iowa State going to Cincy. Cincy, surprising 1.5 point favorite here.
Yeah, this is a sneaky good one. There's a lot of these matchups, if you dig into it, kind of around these 0 to 7 point spreads. So if you're a real true college football fan, still a lot of great matchups on the board. This is one of them. Great start here at noon. Like you said, Cincinnati playing some really good ball, kind of under the weather. Because of that loss in Nebraska week 1, they haven't really talked about. But if I watch that game and I think back, I think Cincinnati kind of deserved to win that game. They really played good and really controlled the whole game. Nebraska made some nice late key plays there to win, but it was a very evenly matched game, and Cincinnati definitely could have won that outright. Then you flip it over to Iowa State, which had a little more marquee games with the Iowa game, the Kansas State game that you mentioned. Got those big wins, by little margins, but got the wins. That's why they're up to number 14 in the country. So this is going to be a nice test for Iowa State here going on the road. They kind of had, because of the crazy travel with Ireland coming back, no teams really do that. So they got their bye week under them, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. So now they're fresh, ready to go. A lot of people are still kind of doubting this Iowa State team. The metrics don't look too great. People are not fully buying into this team, even though they are undefeated and looking, pretty good. But a lot of people are on the Cincinnati team. I was also shocked to see this open up this short here until I dug into it a little more, and I'm actually kind of liking the Cincinnati side in this one. I do just like what they're doing, running the ball. They got a really nice win against Kansas last week. I was on Kansas, watched that whole game. They put up 35-plus points on a pretty good Kansas defense, not top 10 material, but to go on the road and do that, their quarterback, I have someone with an S, is playing really good down the stretch here. He's a really good dual threat guy. Now he's starting to hit some passes, incorporate that into his game. So Cincinnati, a little surprise team in the Big 12 here, really playing a lot better, not really in the national spotlight. So usually when you see these lines, it's a little weird. Unranked team, favored at home by a small amount against a top 15 team. Definitely do your digging, do your research, because there probably is some reason behind it. But so nothing crazy, but I think just people are just kind of underestimating the Cincinnati team and maybe selling the Iowa State team a little bit. So I like a nice little 1-unit play on Cincinnati here, just money line, take the points out of it. And then the total 55.5, I really just don't have a strong lean either way. I think both offenses are really good and really, potent, but they are a little slower, a little more methodical. They're not really too explosive. So maybe a lean to the under if I had to pick it, but I do kind of like Cincinnati here. Just a nice little 1-unit play to get this day going here at noon at home to get a nice win for the Bearcats.
Yeah, I actually like Cincinnati too, laying a 1.5, and that's a good point for your reasoning. My reasoning is even a little more simpler. It's you have the number 14 team in the country. All the hype's been on Iowa State, it seems early on in September, they get the big win. And then it's kind of like a little bit of a trap game, even though it's not a trap game. Cincinnati may be the better team, but I think a lot of the public money you might see come on Iowa State here. You're going to say, oh, you're getting the point. You're ranked 14th in the country. And I agree. I think Cincinnati will win this game outright. So even if it was Iowa State minus 1 or 2, I think I'd also be on Cincinnati. And yeah, I didn't realize how good so far Cincinnati's played offensively. They're top 25 in passing yards, top 25. They're actually top 18th in the country on points for. And they have some competition. Like they've already played, like you said, they got the win over Kansas last week. They opened up against Nebraska, so it's not like they opened up with an FCS schedule. I'll leave those teams unnamed, but they're certainly tested more than a lot of teams. I agree. I like Cincinnati laying the point half.
Yeah, no, I think Cincinnati, like you said, looked really impressive, playing some legit teams. And then, you kind of just parsed through because now we're starting to get a little more info on all these teams. But, Iowa won by 3 against Kansas State. Kansas State obviously does not look great. That game against Iowa was super close. Iowa could have easily won that game outright with a late drive there. And then they did slip up against Arkansas State. It was only a 24-16 victory looking at the schedule here. Now, they did bounce back, had a really nice game against Arizona. There was a ton of money on Arizona in that game. That was while the other big games were going on last Saturday night. And they crushed them. They really put them to bed early and really crushed them. So, it's going to be an interesting game. They did look good last week, but I do just think with all the factors, I think Cincinnati pull this one out here. But this will be a nice, fun one here to start the day at noon.
Yeah, Saturday at noon, little Big 12 slate to kick off our Saturday. Also at noon, we have 2, I think, of the most disappointing teams, would probably be fair to say, coming into this year. Contemplating even talking about this, but it is a staple program. We have Clemson laying 14 points here. Was 14.5. Now it's down to 14, going to Bill Belichick's North Carolina Tar Heels. That one also at noon. Totals at 46.5. North Carolina, got blown out week 1. Tried to rebound a little bit against Charlotte. Richmond still didn't play great. I was on them against UCF. I thought they'd put up a little bit of a better showing. UCF goes and blows them out 34-9. And then on the Clemson side, of course, everybody knows preseason top 5. They open up their season with a loss also to LSU. Didn't look good against Troy. Nearly lost that game. I mean, could have easily lost this game. Clemson could really be an 0-4 team. I mean, they're very, very fortunate they didn't lose that game. They go on, they lose to Georgia Tech, lose to Syracuse. Here they are with a chance, still laying 14 points. Paisley, what do you think in this one?
Yeah, this one is, maybe had a little more buzz before the season. Definitely got killed off with the first couple games here, but I don't know. I do not feel confident. I do feel confident actually in it, but I'm very scared and very, not as popular as I was probably going to be with this pick. But I love Clemson here. I'm going back to my roots here. I got burned with them a lot of times this year, but, we're not learning our lesson. We're going to go back to Clemson, just more a spot play here. They're coming off a bye. They heard all the negative noise. The game against Syracuse. Now, they have not looked good all year. I do know that. But UNC has also looked horrendous too. And against a little bit lesser competition with the UCF blowout, the Charlotte, they didn't look that great in that game, but got the win. So I really thought UNC was on the up and up. Their defense looks a little bit better, but the offense is completely broken. And, I think if you look on the Clemson side, definitely have a lot of problems on both sides of the ball. But I think the offense hopefully gets some things going in the right direction. They definitely have more talent, more continuity on that side. And I trust the offense to get going a little bit more against this UNC team. So I think this number would open up like 12.5, 13, now going up to 14. I just thought this number would be, 17, 21, maybe 28 if it was a normal Clemson team like we thought it was this year. So I think you're just getting a huge dip because everyone's selling Clemson. So I'm not going to be betting Clemson a lot going forward, but depending on the spot, I want to see how they look here coming off of this bye. But it's a sell of both teams, but I'm just really, really selling UNC in general. So I'm just looking to fade UNC any chance I can get. Now you get Clemson off the bye. Let's see how they look. This could be very dangerous, laying almost 2 touchdowns with. If you could try and get it under the 2 touchdown threshold, that'd be big. But so I think either they come out on fire and they come out, looking maybe half as good as they thought they were going to be in the preseason and they soar over this number, or it's going to be an absolute rock fight and it's going to look terrible and they're going to be in a fourth quarter game, up 3 points or down 3 points going into the fourth quarter. So I'm banking on the first option there. So I'm just hoping they get off to a good start, get the offense back on track against this UNC team that's just bad all around. I don't know if Bill Belichick, I just don't think this is right for him. I just think it could be a team you could look to bet on against going forward this season. So very scary on my estimation case, but I am going to be going back with my Clemson Tigers here one last time. Let's see if they burn me. But I think they got a nice little blowout win here in the sleepy Chapel Hill Stadium.
Well, your reasoning, I think, makes sense. To your point, also where North Carolina is really, really bad. So I agree on that front. I don't think I will bet this. I think I'll have to stay away. I don't really know because your reasoning makes sense. My only problem is I'm worried that Clemson, I don't think it's registering with it is with people that they're just not what we thought they were, but I think they just might be bad. I think they just might be a bad team, which it doesn't make sense. They have all the talent like you just laid out, but it really doesn't make sense because one game against Troy, whatever, bounce back against Georgia Tech, it just didn't happen. And then you go into Syracuse and you're a 17.5-point favorite and you go lose by 14. We're over the fluke situation. I think Clemson just might not be very good. Their season, is certainly over. I mean, with 3 losses, no matter what happened, it's almost hard to believe we're sitting October 1st into September and their season's actually over. Even if they went out, it wouldn't even matter and they won't be able to. But and then on the other side, I'll probably will stay away. But the difference here is North Carolina, they had a little bit of pressure coming into the season, Bill Belichick, but we knew they'd be down a little bit. We knew 70 new guys. We didn't really know what to expect. I feel like they could almost play less scared a little bit. They're kind of just out there slinging the ball, go in the mindset, let's, get a few hundred yards. Let's try to look good and see what happens. And I still think Dabo and Clemson, I feel like the tension's really high there right now. They are coming off the bye, but for those reasons, I still don't trust Clemson here. I'm not completely on North Carolina by any means. Like I said, I think they're really bad, but I probably stay away from this one. But if I had to pick, I'd probably still lean UNC until I see some sort of life around Clemson. It's still hard for me to believe, but just for those reasons, I lean Carolina here.
Yeah, no, it's scary either way. I mean, it's definitely one you're going to be not feeling great pregame if you take either side. But I just think back to those 2 games they played against FBS opponents with TCU and UCF beat them 34-9, TCU 48-14. So I don't think much of Clemson, but I do think they have to be better than UCF. I think. I don't know. We'll see. But, UCF just really controlled that game, really pushed them around. And then I do think TCU is better than Clemson this year, but that was just an absolute blowout. So I just looked at those 2 games, and that's what I'm picturing in my head. Like you said, but to that point, I would maybe disagree slightly about Clemson now with the pressure still being on. I feel like it definitely was in that Syracuse game for sure. You could tell they were getting tight a little bit at home. Now they get to go on the road a little bit, get away from your fans, kind of just be you against the world, all 500 people that are there in the UNC football arena. But I think now they're just going to play really loose, really free. They have nothing to lose now. You're just playing for a Pop-Tart Bowl probably at best. So I think maybe now you'll start to maybe see them look better. But if they look really bad again, then there's some serious problems going on. But maybe they'll turn around. I don't know, but it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they could hold the locker room together or how they will look against North Carolina. This, could make or break really the narrative, even though it's already over. Like you said, they have to, at some point you would think they would come out looking good. We'll see if it's against North Carolina or at least better than they've been looking. All right, moving on back to the Big 12, I guess. Number 11, Texas Tech, who's been doing great so far this year, got the big win over Utah. They're laying 10.5 going on the road at Houston. This one is total sitting at 51.5. Paisley, what are your thoughts here? This Houston team that has played good at times, hasn't looked, they're kind of just a middle of the road team, but Texas Tech certainly has all the momentum of the Big 12, now probably the front runner, especially after TCU's loss last Friday to Arizona State.
Yeah, no, I've been hearing a lot, and rightfully so, about Texas Tech being a Big 12 favorite, runaway, they're going to win the Big 12 easily. And the last couple of years we saw this conference, just be wild and be chaotic. So I do like this Texas Tech team. We talked about them a couple weeks ago, and they beat Utah, and we were very impressed with them. They have all the makings of a solid playoff team. I want to see if they can take that next step now to become, maybe instead of just making the playoff and bouncing first round like in Arizona State last year, could they win a game or two maybe, and be that elite team, which I think they have the capabilities to do that. But this Big 12 conference case, as we know, has just been so up and down, so crazy, where you think there's a favorite, there's a top team, they get beat the next week. So now they have a little bit of, expectations on them, a little bit of, people patting them on the back. So let's see now they go on the road to Houston, who was one of my surprise teams before the year. And they were looking good the first couple games. Then they had a little slip up at Oregon State. It was a Friday night game last week, and they squeaked it out. They did not look great in that game, but they squeaked it out. So now they get Texas Tech coming back at home here. I would take Houston on the side. Came down a little bit. It was at 12.5, 13, coming down to 10.5. But a play I really do like, one of my top plays of the week. Maybe not a lock. I'll see when it gets to Saturday, but I do like the under in this game, 51.5. I do think Texas Tech defense is legit. I think Houston's defense is really good too. Their offense with Wegmans coming around, it's looking okay. And Texas Tech will get their starting quarterback back. Just checked that right before we started here, Case. Morton will be coming back after he got injured in the Utah game. So his first game back, how will he be? So I just think it's going to be a little choppy. I think it's going to be a little more defensive. I was just surprised this number was in the 50s. I thought it would be a 46, 47 type total. So I'm seeing a couple points of value to the under. But again, this is another sneaky good one. I think Houston is not a really bad unranked team. And now you got a Texas Tech team where everyone's kind of just penciling them in. And I don't know if I buy that completely because of the conference. I really like this team, but I want to see if Texas Tech could really make that leap and really solidify themselves as the top team in the Big 12, or is it going to be another, yo-yo year where it's up, down, new team replacing at the number one spot, and then we're going to get to a 7-8 team tiebreaker by the last week. So really interested to see, because Texas Tech is really good, but can they take that next step? But really do like the under in this game, under 51.5.
Yeah, this is a good test team in battle of two unbeatens. Like you said, Houston didn't look great against Oregon State, but they put up a ton of points against Colorado. Got the shutout win week 1 over nobody, SF Austin. But hey, shutout is still impressive nonetheless. I'm going to lean Houston with the points here. I just think because, just for some of the points you laid out, I think Texas Tech is really good, but I just think the Big 12 is such a Wild West conference. It's like we've compared it to the Cinderella March Madness of college football, and I truly think it is. And I don't think I don't believe Houston's going to win this game outright. However, I think it just might be an ugly hostile environment. I think Houston just has the recipe for possibly to keep this thing close. I think 10.5 is a lot of points. Nothing from Texas Tech. I think they're really good too, but this is just one of those strange spots where, this is where chaos starts to happen. The first Saturday in October, 2 undefeated teams. Texas Tech is the heavy favorite, like you said, kind of an under the radar game. And I actually wasn't even going to mention this. You brought it to, our attention before the podcast. So glad we're talking about it. But yeah, this is a prime spot for, I think, Houston to try to keep this thing close. And with 10.5 points, yeah, I'll definitely take Houston all day with those points.
Yeah, it's the moment you think like, oh, I haven't heard anybody else say after this Utah game, anybody else taking anybody but Texas Tech to win the Big 12. Yeah. So it's like every other team is just terrible now. They're not taking every team. And I hate to do it because I really do like Texas Tech. They were very impressive, but just the makeup of the conference, let's see. I think it's still going to be chaotic. I think you'll still see a lot up and down in this conference.
And Texas Tech has Kansas home next week before they go on the road all the way to Arizona State. That if Texas Tech is 6-0 through that Arizona State game, that's going to be a huge game between those two, despite Arizona State's loss against Mississippi State. That'll be a big one to look forward to in a couple of weeks. All right, moving on all the way to the SEC. Number 9, Texas, going on the road at Florida. Texas laying 6.5 points here. Total 41.5, pretty low. We know kind of the stories of both of these teams. Florida has not led up to the expectations. Neither has Texas really, but Florida's looked pretty bad at times. Lost to USF, lost to Miami, has a couple of different losses. And Texas, of course, has the loss on the road in Columbus against number 1 Ohio State week 1. They bounced back with a couple of wins, but just haven't not looked like their preseason number 1. They fell all the way to number 9 in the polls, and they're really lucky to be there. Only laying 6.5 here. I know, Paisley, you kind of mentioned your thoughts a little before the podcast here, but what do you think is going to go on in this one? Texas at Florida.
Yeah, as I'm kind of looking at all these games, cases, all these games I feel like have some in common where it's like, why are these spreads so low? They should be a lot higher. It's a lot of rank versus unranked people, selling one side. But I think Vegas is telling you it's going to be a little more interesting weekend than I think we think. And this one, I also agree with the underdog here. I kind of like Florida in this matchup. This is one of my early bets that I did on Sunday while the NFL games are going on. I took Florida plus 7.5, got it over the key number of 7. Now it hasn't really come back to 7.5, couple sevens. And I also do like the under in this game. I really like the first half under 21.5. And then this total just keeps coming down. I think it opened. I saw 47 to start on Sunday. Didn't grab it. I thought that was one I just regret. Now all the way down to 41.5. It's like an NFL total. But I think for good reason. I think both these offenses are going to struggle. And I think both these defenses are legit and are pretty good. Now, I think Texas definitely has the better defense. But Florida quietly, if you look at their games, it's been very embarrassing for the offense. But their defense has really held them in against like top-tier programs. Maybe not top-tier offenses like LSU, as we know. They're not as top-tier as we thought. But that Miami game, they really held their own. Like we said, they got 2 garbage touchdowns after they went for it on 4th down. So they really kind of held the Canes to like 14 points, 17 points. So I think this defense is going to show up again. They're coming off the bye. The defense has not been the issue for Florida. It's really just been limiting the turnovers and the quarterback play on the offensive side. But what has Texas' problem been too? The defense has not been the problem, but it's the quarterback play and it's the offensive side. So I think that's why this total is so low. It's going to be an ugly game. I was actually looking at both team totals under, which I've never done, but I'm like, I think it's 17.5 for Florida and 24.5 for Texas, if that sounds about right. And I'm like, I just don't see both offenses scoring at all. I think Arch Manning going on the road to a hostile environment. On another keynote that I just listened to on another podcast, we got the Red River Showdown next week against Oklahoma. Now, John Mateer might not play, so that does kind of lose a little luster to it. But those players are looking forward to it. So now this is not a trap game, but Texas definitely is scheduling that Oklahoma game. They really love to play that every year and get hyped up for it. So now you got to go on the road to a team that's scrappy, to a team that's going to ugly it up, not going to be a high-scoring game, not going to let you breathe on offense there. And I just don't trust this Texas offense against the competition that they just played. Like the best game they had was against Sam Houston State. But Sam Houston State is one of the worst defenses in all of college football. They are so bad. They are really bad defensively. So it was a good sign. At least they showed a little life on offense against Sam Houston, because that could have been really terrible. But it looked like a UTEP game and San Jose State, where they kind of struggled to move the ball. And those defenses are middle of the pack. They're not as terrible or not as great in the country. I think it's going to be very similar against a top 25 defense in Florida. People are just selling Florida, just because of all the scrutiny they get and the head coach and the quarterback stink. But I think they fight here at home. I really do think they keep it close. I like a play on the 7 if you could get it, but my main plays will definitely be the under first half for sure. Just looking to make a play, hopefully at 42, 43 if it comes back up a little bit. But yeah, I like a lot of low scoring points. And I think, we talk about underdogs winning outright case. Would not be shocked if Florida gets their first, big win of the season here against an actual team. They've been close and they've been in these games. I think they maybe get this done here because I'm just selling Texas and Arch Manning so much. I think there's some real problems there. And I don't think he's built for this top tier stage case. I think he's going to struggle big time.
Yeah, it's definitely a bold pick. This game is another one that just tore me, because you're right. The spread is so kind of low in a way where it wants me. I want to take Florida. I mean, we kind of know what Florida is at this point. We know they're slow. They have a lot of the turnovers. They have a couple of those close losses, but they have had like a more difficult schedule with the exception of the USF loss. There's really no absolutely stunning thing about Florida. And they are home. I mean, they're desperate for a win. I mean, they're going to do, I think, everything necessary to win the game. I will say before the podcast, I was kind of leaning Texas. I figure at some point they have to get it together, you would think. But I'm just kind of with a few of these other teams around the country. They just might not be the Texas that we think they are either. I think we kind of know what Florida is at this point. We're still unsure exactly what Texas is capable of. We know they have all the talent. But that's a great point about the Red River rivalry next week. I didn't really realize how that schedule set up. And you're right. That has a recipe for disaster here. I like Florida too, and I'm not going to be stunned either if they can pull out a big upset win. Florida's just desperate. They need this one. And kind of going back to some of the other talking points like I had with UNC, like at this point, Florida doesn't have anything to lose either. Like Florida's just, they have a few losses. Billy Napier, I mean, he's probably just counting down the days. I mean, he doesn't probably know what's going on. And in Texas, kind of all the pressure in the world. Like, yeah, you have the one loss to Ohio State, but now it's time you got to win now if you're Texas. Preseason #1. Like, we've seen it with a few teams around the country. So I honestly, I'm not 100%. We'll see this on my Saturday slate. I don't know if I'm in love with it, but right now, definitely lean Florida, even with the 6.5, and won't be stunned if they pull out a major upset here on Saturday.
Yeah, I think just with some of these teams, it's really like matchup dependent. So if Texas, I'll look to bet them looking at their schedule, maybe against some lesser competition, with bad defenses like a Mississippi State, Arkansas, Kentucky. Like I could see myself on them there because I know the defense is going to be good against anybody, but their offense needs to play bad defenses to have success. So, what happens when you step up in class against really good teams like Oklahoma, Florida on the road, Georgia on the road, Texas A&M, like I think they're going to struggle in these games. And I hate to bring up a sore subject case with Penn State, but I think we kind of got some signs from Penn State in those early games where they played lesser competition. The offense just wasn't right. And it showed up in the biggest game. I watched this offense against San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston again looked better, but it was one good game. And I just think the offense just showing signs. Ohio State, now we know it's a good defense, but I just think they're showing signs and people are just expecting, well, they're going to get better. They're going to get better. They didn't show anything maybe, or they're, just give them time. And it's like, maybe that's just what it is. I don't doubt the defense. The defense might be #1, #2 in the country, honestly. They're that good. But this offense has to get going. But I just don't – I think it's just what it is. I just don't think they're, what Texas fans were expecting and the hype they had coming into the year. So I think they're going to struggle in these big-time games when they go up against really good top 10, top 15 defense. I just don't see Arch and this offense really lighting it up here.
Yeah, no, ton of pressure, and on the road, at Florida, not an easy place to play. And like we said, they're desperate for a win. So going to be fun to watch that one at 3:30. Probably looking forward to that. One of the most biggest games of the week. We got this next one, though, number 16, Vanderbilt, who probably should be in the top 10 right now, going on the road at number 10, Alabama. Alabama laying 10.5 points. Vandy exceeding expectations, just like they did a year ago. Their quarterback, Diego Pavia, very good so far this season. And then on the other side, you got Alabama, who opened up their season with a loss against Florida State. I said it was all over for them. No reason to even play the rest of their schedule. But here they are, bounced back. They beat Georgia. Total 56.5. And who thought we'd see college game day after week 1 coming to Vanderbilt at Alabama? Big test for Vandy. We know what happened last year. Vandy got the major upset. It's probably part of why I like Alabama in this one, but interested to hear your thoughts, Paisley. Could Vanderbilt try to get this thing and keep this game close here in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, I think they could. This one is really ripping at me. This one and the next one we're going to talk about, I'm just so torn because, I really liked one side maybe a couple weeks ago, or I'm like, oh, I really like this team. But then now, you get some new info, get some new stuff. But how about the crazy swings like you're talking about? We were both selling Alabama like everybody else in the country. Now they beat Georgia, and they looked good for the most part, but they didn't score a point in the second half. And they, look good doing it, but they scraped by Georgia. And everybody loves them again. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, no, I knew this before the year and stuff. So I think it's just so much like, hot and cold with some of these teams. What are we really getting? With Vanderbilt, I think you know what you're getting. They're at least consistent. They run the ball. They try and slow the game down. Their defense has been good, not great. But, now with the spot with the Alabama win, it just makes it a little more interesting, I think, for the Vanderbilt side because now Alabama put a lot of emotion. It's a tough road atmosphere. Now you got to turn right around and play a physical, slow it down, grind it type of team in Vanderbilt. So, again, this line was 13-14 when it opened on Sunday. I was kicking myself again. I really want to take Vanderbilt, but I thought honestly more money was going to come on Alabama. Drove it down now to 10.5. Alabama, there's a ton of factors. Like you said, Alabama has a revenge from last year. This number is just so low if you look at it from like a talent perspective, recruiting, like Alabama crushes them, but they were favored by 24 last year. And we know what happened in Vanderbilt. So it's a lot of factors. That's why I'm so torn because there's a lot on each side. I could see cases for both sides here. I will probably have a play on the game. My head is telling me to go with Alabama because the number's too short, but my heart, and I bet Vanderbilt last year, I remember, plus 24, and I was so happy watching that whole game. And so I do owe a lot to Vanderbilt, what they did to me last year. They covered a couple games this year, and they look good this year. Like they really did. They were covered for us big time in that South Carolina game. They passed every test, and they've looked good up until this point. Now they get their biggest test going on the road to Alabama here. So this one I'm just so torn on. I just don't know what to do. Even on the total, I could see it going under. I could see it going over. It's a little high for a team that wants to be a little run heavy. Alabama did not run the ball or stop the run well. If you look back at the box score against Georgia, that was a little alarming. They gave up, I think, like 250 yards rushing to Georgia, and they really didn't run the ball, I think, for 100 yards. So Vanderbilt's a way more dynamic run team, which I think they could have some success there. So even though numbers come down, I think I'm still going to take Vanderbilt. I don't know if it's going to make the card because I just don't feel that confident about it. But I really, really wanted to go heavy on Vanderbilt here. But now with how Bama looked, the spot here coming back home, now they got the juices flowing a little bit. Kalen DeBoer looks like a little more calm, hopefully, and he's, maybe going to stay around for a couple more games, maybe till the end of the year. But this is still a big one. I'd wonder what's going to happen to the fan base if they turn around and lose this one after just beating Georgia. What the vibe would be. That would be interesting. But fascinating game. 2 tough games back to back for Alabama. But I think Vanderbilt keeps it close here. Don't love it, but I think they keep it close, and I think they could hold on to a 10.5 point spread.
Similar to last year, Alabama gets a big win against Georgia, and then they come back and play Vanderbilt. So I guess the same sort of schedule alignment. Vandy's like America's team. I mean, it's hard to be against them here just because they've done nothing over decades, and here we are, Vanderbilt, and they're nationally ranked. We have national attention going on the road to Alabama. But I like Alabama too much in this spot, and it's mostly because of what happened last year. I think this game is circled. I know it sounds crazy, and maybe it's not, but in some way, there's a lot of players on this Alabama team that remember that humiliation at Vandy, heavy favorite. Like, I know Georgia was a big win last week for them, for Alabama, and maybe they will come out a little bit slow. But I just think once you get rolling, once we're in the second half of this game, you're at home. It's just not enough points for me. It's just not. And Vandy's really good, but just the talent gap, we talked about it a little bit like early in the season, just those 5 stars that Alabama has everywhere, even if, they are an up and down team and Vanderbilt is really physical. I just think a mix of having the talent edge and then a mix of what happened last year. And then also the spread, it's just not high enough for me. I like Alabama big in this one. And trust me, I want to be wrong in this one. Like I would love to see Vandy win this game. Like, trust me, if I lose $100 over that, it'd be the best $100 I ever spent. But I'm going to be putting Alabama on Saturday for my picks. Mine's 10.5. I love that number.
Yeah, a couple last points here on this one, but a little similar maybe to the Washington Ohio State last week. A lot of public money on Washington. Number got driven way down. And then what happened? Ohio State really showed their true colors. They just overwhelmed them for 4 quarters. Washington couldn't really move the football. Second point, I remember back to that Vanderbilt game last year, and to pull off a 24-point underdog upset, you need to have a lot of things go your way. They did get every bounce. If you look at the time of possession, I think it was like 41-14. Like, it was just, they really played a perfect game, like almost like a pitcher throwing a no-hitter, a perfect game, and got all the right bounces, played the exact style they wanted to play. So, and Alabama put up points last year too. It wasn't like it was a blowout. So can they repeat that same blueprint? That's what I'm really interested to see what this Vanderbilt team could do here now, stepping up. Are they going to be a legit team, or are they just kind of, had a great run last year? I think this team is better. I think they're better than last year, but like you said, they don't have the 5 stars and the top end NFL draft picks on their roster, but they did do it last year. So that's why I'm really interested to see College Game Day. Like you said, Alabama circled it, which is crazy to think they circled the Vanderbilt game. So I don't like it if you're backing Vanderbilt here in this spot that a top 10 team has got you circled. So, going to be great TV though. It's going to be a great one to watch.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch, at least. Definitely looking forward to that one. And like I said, always good to see Vandy succeed here until they win. If somehow Vandy turns into a dynasty, I will be off that train really quickly. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Kind of like the Detroit Lions, basically, not to change the subject, but even as a Bears fan, I can't root against Detroit until they finally win the Super Bowl or get consistently good. Then I'll be against them. But until that happens, I can't hate the Detroit Lions.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Final big preview game, then we'll get into our picks and then the underdog parlay. So we appreciate everybody that's hanging around here, listen to this analysis. Number 3, Miami, laying 4.5, going on the road at number 18 now, Florida State. We all saw the video last week, UVA pulling off the big upset at home in Charlottesville over Florida State. Miami, who's looked great so far this year. They even have a few number one AP votes, which is rare to see for the U. Got the big win over Notre Dame, have a couple wins, got that big win over Florida. Here they are laying 4.5, going to a tough place to play. It's going to be dark. It's going to be under the lights, but Florida State, of course, coming off the loss. Huge game for ACC implications here. Paisley, your thoughts on Miami at Florida State?
Yeah, this one's another fascinating game, very similar. I'm just so torn on this one. This one, I'm kind of similar thoughts. I think, in my heart, I want to take FSU. They look bad last week. They're at home, good spot, but the number is so low again. Like I just thought it'd be a little bit higher, close to a touchdown. So are you getting a cheap price with a really more talented and buttoned up team? So it's a very tough one back and forth for me to pick here. I do think Florida State, offensively, you saw what they did last week. Really good, could move it on anybody, but defensively, they definitely do have some holes. So I just don't know if I trust Florida State's defense going up against that Miami run game and offensive line for 4 quarters. But they did kind of struggle a little bit against Florida. So, I think, everyone wants to crown Miami. I think their defense is actually more the impressive side of the football. Their offense still very talented, very good. But you look at the Notre Dame game even too, and you look how terrible Notre Dame's defense is. They only scored 27 points. The Florida game, really low scoring. The USF, I think, was just a slam spot. So I think they really dominated that. So I kind of throw that one out a little bit. But I'm really interested to see Carson Beck here on the road. This will be another great test for them. They passed their first couple tests. But now you're on the road. You're not at home where they won their other 3 games. So this is going to be an interesting one. Again, I'm just so torn side and total again on this one. It's tough I had a lot of predictions for these big games last week, and I was really strong on. Some of them we were more wrong than others, but this one I just really don't feel strongly about. I really do kind of lean Miami a little bit in this one, just because I could trust them for 4 quarters. But now you're talking about, again, week by week, Florida State lost to Virginia. That's a boost for Florida State. They're going to be a little more pissed off, a little more buttoned up. And now Miami coming into that. So just a lot of factors kind of going against my train of thought maybe 2 weeks ago before the last week's games played. So I think you'll get a good effort from Florida State. You looked how great they looked against Alabama week 1 at home, and then they went on the road in a sleepy spot against Virginia. Saw how that turned out. So I think similar to the Big 12 case, I think the ACC could have a little chaos where I think people are kind of penciling in Miami. They're kind of penciling in Texas Tech. I think there's a couple more upsets or a couple more crazy games to happen, like we saw with Virginia and Florida State. I just think the middle of these conferences are actually a little bit better than people are giving them credit for. And I think the top are not as top end like the Big 10 or like the SEC. So I wouldn't be shocked if there was an upset here. I wish I could call it because I really – I just don't like Miami as a program, but I do like them because I think they are very good this year. But like you said, it's hard to trust some of these teams, that have failed you in the past or haven't looked good. So if Miami comes out and controls this game and looks really good and wins by 7-10 points, okay, then I think everyone could be like, all right, they're in a legit national title contender. Or are they going to fall because of their last test had some holes in it? I think if Notre Dame played them now, it'd be a little bit different than first game of the year on the road. So, you could poke holes in everything, but I'm really interested to see how this Florida State team bounces back. And is Miami a legit team? Because there's been a ton of upsets the last couple of weeks. I think Miami might be in line for it. That's why I'm not so strong on the play, but I just think the number is a little low from a betting perspective. So probably lean to Miami again. Probably not going to be on the card, but probably take Miami, but not a strong play there.
Yeah, that's a good analysis. It is not a lot of points. I thought this would be more here. I guess it's on the road. It's going to be a tough place to play there at Florida State. Going to be a hostile crowd. I'm really torn. Great quarterback battle too. We'll see Tommy Castellanos versus Carson Beck. Carson Beck's looked awesome now here at Miami. And I do think I know there's probably not a lot of people that know this, but I've never been a Miami guy over the years. I'm always looking forward to the day that they lose at the end of the season, and I'm still confident that's going to happen. So I'm going to put that out there for the record. Miami will not win the national championship. Are they a contender? Yes, but will they fail us somewhere? Yes. So that's my take on Miami. Is it here? Possible. Not ruling it out. You're like you said, you have Florida State who lost a game last week to Virginia. They're going to kind of come out like a little, they're going to be swinging. They're going to, maybe a little bit of look ahead happen that Friday night trap game. 4.5 is a really low number. I thought it would be more, which just points out that I'm not going to be totally stunned here if Florida State wins this game outright. I think Miami's definitely better than them, but it's just one of those situations. Miami also, they did have a bye week, but still tough. You know, they're going to be a little banged up. Notre Dame, they had to get through week 1. They had to play Florida. Like, they did not have an easy schedule. Now they got to go on the road at Florida State. Sometimes that's a good thing because you're tested, but sometimes, it gets to you because to go, week in and week out and continue winning and playing at that same consistent level is tough. And Miami just hasn't really had a letdown game yet. And I think it could be here. I don't love this play. I'm going to be on the opposite end of you, though. I'm going to lean Florida State with the points. Won't be stunned if they could get this upset. But definitely, I think out of the whole entire Saturday slate, I'm really looking forward to this one. I think FSU has a shot here. And look, if Miami does go blow them out, to your credit and your point, I think Miami then, like, that will then solidify themselves even further as a team that, and I know I keep saying it, they have to keep winning, but this is a big one for Miami too, because if they could look impressive and win this game and cover, then yeah, that does set them up for certainly probably, I mean, ACC almost lock for at least being in the championship. I don't think anybody would really even come close to them at this point in the ACC. So huge game for both sides. Florida State trying to bounce back, Miami trying to solidify themselves as the best team. But right now, I'm gonna lean Florida State. Maybe we'll see it on my card, maybe not. But at some point, the Hurricanes will disappoint.
Yeah, no, I just think last week I think it's going to be a preview for the rest of the season. I just think there's, I think we're all confident saying Ohio State, Oregon 1-2, probably going to be the Big Ten championship. And then after that case, I could see a ton of teams in the SEC championship, and the ACC championship, and the Big 12. So I just think it's dangerous to just write some of these teams in, because I think the gap between, I think you look at Miami at 3 until like 20, like I look at that Vanderbilt 16, like I don't think it's that large. So I think you're going to see a lot of upsets, a lot of smaller spreads, and a lot of upsets like we saw last week with Oregon and Alabama being the two big ones. But I just think there's going to be a lot of, big win and then a big loss the next week for some of these teams. So I just think it's going to be hard to run the table here, because I just think it's a very, very evenly spread, middle of the pack here in the top 25. So if you're a backer of, some of these top teams, like even Texas A&M, I'm thinking about too, like they're good, but can they, are they just a lock to, or Ole Miss even too now? Like I heard people talking about, they're in the playoff for sure. It's like, I don't know. I'm still not sold on a lot of these teams. And I think we're still for the viewer, it's going to be awesome to see all these upsets, but I think it's going to be a ton of chaos starting here last week 5 and on. I think it's going to be a ton of chaos.
Yep. I love it. That's what makes this better than the NFL, in my opinion. Gonna be a lot of fun. All right, moving on to our picks. I think there are all of our preliminary games, just previews, not the greatest slate, but it's still going to be fun. And every time we get slates like this, we're always impressed, I think, come Saturday night. Mr. Paisley, I'll let you kick it off here on the picks. What are one of your early thoughts that we'll see on your Saturday slate?
Yeah, we're going to go back to the well here. If you've been listening for the last year or so, we're going to fade a service academy. And this one, we're going to fade the Army Black Knights here, going on the road to Alabama, play UAB. Got UAB +7, a little home dog here. A little interesting. I thought this number was a little high. Again, I told you in preseason I was selling Army. Again, love the troops, but selling the Army football team. I just don't think they're that good. And I've been betting against them, and it's been profitable. So I want to do it one more time here. Close to a best bet. I really do like this one a lot. I think UAB could win this game outright, honestly. They have the offense to do it. I think Army's defense is not good. Army and Air Force, if you look at their games, have been very high scoring, which is very weird for service academies. Air Force and Navy play this week. Total 55. Just a little shout out to the other service academy game, so which is crazy. So I just don't trust this Army defense. I just don't think it's that good. The offense is still they've been battling back down 21 points the last couple of games and throwing the ball a little more and getting back into games, but they've been down a lot. So their final scores look a little better than what they do, but UAB's offense is elite. I love their quarterback. If you watch him, he could be an on-the-rise candidate, could maybe go to a Power 5 school next year. But UAB's defense is terrible. That's the only reason why I think this is at +7. They are very, very bad. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring one, but I do think UAB could match Army score for score here at home, and I think they keep it close. I think they can get an outright win, maybe with a final drive here in the last couple minutes.
Paisley, did you get rejected by one of these service academy schools or something back in the day?
I did not even attempt to try and apply there. So
Well, I do think Army's bad. Also, and only just looked it up because I know you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. Army's lost to Tarleton State early in the season, the FCS school. They are rolling through the FCS right now.
Good FCS team. They're going to win the championship.
42-0 over Portland State, 59-3 over Mississippi Valley State, 56-10 over Central Arkansas, and 52-24 over Chattanooga. They are rolling. I may have to jump on. I can't wait. I guess North Dakota State, I guess, is going to be their biggest competitor. So that'll be whoever that playoff. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, Army, nonetheless, yeah, Army, not a great team. So I like that UAB little action. +7. UAB, they're the one, they closed their football program about 10 years ago, and then they brought it back. Yeah.
They're back.
I love it. I used to have a UAB football shirt actually after they closed the program. I bought it as a kid. It was fantastic. Love it. All right. I'm going to roll here and go with Michigan State plus, let's see, 11.5. I got it at. They're on the road at Nebraska. I'm a Big Ten guy. Look, I like looking at these Big Ten games. I seem to do a little bit better with the conference, I guess, just because I watch it a lot more than the average fan usually watches SEC. It's just a lot of points. Michigan State has been pretty decent this year. Like they're better offensively. They put up 31 against USC a week ago. They lost that game, but they put up 42 against Boston College in that thrilling overtime win. And Nebraska just tends to get in these low, like defensive battles. Like they always seem to struggle a little bit. I'm on the Nebraska train a little bit coming into this season. I still think they could have a great year, but I'm not as high on them as I was in week one. And I just think that's too many points. I think this is a spread maybe a couple of years ago, like right post Mel Tucker, that, I would say MSU's terrible. They're going to go 4-8, whatever. But I don't think MSU's that team this year. I think they're a lot better than that. And this is just too many points. So give me with 11.5. Yeah, all day. I don't care if it's home or on the road like they are. Too many points. So I'll take Michigan State plus 11.5 at Nebraska.
Yeah, I actually love that one, Case. This one's close to making my picks down here, too. I just think it's way too many points. And Michigan State's offense has been quietly very good, like you said, putting up a lot of points. Their defense is the part that they struggle, but Nebraska's on the same wavelength. Their offense is okay. Their defense is bad. So I was very shocked. This seemed a lot higher. I thought this would be around 7. So I think you're getting a lot of value there. I'm going to go back to the well again for my second pick. These have been profitable all year. We're going to do another Notre Dame over case. We're going back Notre Dame, Boise State over 62.5. I've been saying this for weeks. I think it's another great play here. Might be another lock. The Arkansas one cleared easily. The team total did. The total took a little bit in the third quarter because Arkansas wasn't scoring. But I do think Boise State's going to have a little more success than Arkansas did. If you look at their numbers too, their defense is terrible, but their offense is okay. They're doing enough. They just put up 40+ on App State, who not a great defense, but that was still a pretty impressive showing. So I do think Boise State's going to hold their own here, scoring points wise, but I just don't think they're going to be able to slow down Notre Dame at all. I think Notre Dame, just again, offense is rolling. I think it's going to be very similar, maybe not as dominant as the Arkansas game was, but I think they're going to score again in the 40s. Like, I just think this offense is really good, but trying to say it for weeks. Now CJ Carr is starting to get a little more national love. So I think this offense is going to keep carrying them through their season here. Defense looked a little bit better, definitely their best game against Arkansas last week. But I do think Boise State scores a little more points than them. I could see this being a 42-21 type game. I think Notre Dame puts up a bunch here and then just kind of holds them to 21-24-ish. But I do think Boise State gets their points here. So again, I was just shocked this was under 65. I thought it'd be in the 65 to 68, 69 range. So give me another over case. This might be another lock. Look for it on Saturday, but another Notre Dame over I think is going to cash nicely here.
What's the team total for Notre Dame on Saturday? Do you know?
It was 41.5 actually. I did look.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say I probably like that. I've kind of been questioning at some point will there be a low scoring Notre Dame game, and it just seems to never happen. So I like this one too. I think my biggest question is will Boise really be able to score enough on their end, in my opinion, to hit that over.
Yeah.
But no, I like it. That's not a bad number at all. 62.5. I could see this game being like that, 42-24 type of game or something like that to push it over comfortably. Yeah, that'll be a good one. 62.5 Boise, Notre Dame. My second pick here, I'm sticking with the Big Ten. I'm going Maryland plus 6.5. And you might be saying, Casey, that's a little dangerous here. Maryland's traditionally pretty bad. Only 6.5 points, you might say. I think that's enough for Washington. I think Washington's good, but got to travel cross country. I think Washington might be a little bit, banged up from their big game against number one Ohio State a week ago, 2,000 miles ago over in Washington. And Maryland has played pretty good football so far. I know Wisconsin's not very good, but they controlled them. They've looked good in most games they played. They're still unbeaten. I won't be stunned here. This was one I'm like, maybe I'll dabble a little bit on the Maryland money line. Not going to do that. Maybe won't publicly at least release that. But with 6.5, I think that's enough points. Give me Maryland plus 6.5. It's not 7.5, but that's okay. I think this game's going to be really close. So I'll gladly take Maryland here with the points also.
Yeah, great spot for Maryland. Like we said, off of these, somehow we get these big games. How are people going to respond? These cross-country road trips have not been good to whatever team, the West team going east or these team going west. So I do kind of like that spot play there too, Case. Also forgot to mention, I will be at the Notre Dame game this weekend, so we might have a lock. If it does hit in person, we will give you a little screenshot, a little picture from the stadium there, so nothing better than having an over going to a live game. But next play, I'm going to go down to Louisville, Kentucky. I'm going to take Louisville minus 6.5. Very similar to the Maryland play. I'm going to keep it short here. I just think it's a great spot for Louisville. Kind of lay in the weeds. They've been really good. They've been a very good team in the ACC. I think they're going to, maybe have a couple upsets here, some of these top teams. So Miami actually does travel to Louisville, or Louisville goes to them next week, which will be a nice little game after the Florida State game. So I kind of will preview to that. I kind of like Louisville in that one. But I just think coming Virginia off that ginormous win, huge win for the program. Now you got to go on the road to play a really good on both sides of the team, Louisville team. I just think it's a tough spot. And I think Louisville under touchdown's a good play here. Big spot play here, but give me the Cardinals minus 6.5.
I like it. Louisville minus 6.5. I'm going to be, for my third pick here, I'm going to be laying 14.5. Texas A&M. They are playing Mississippi State. Also a lot of points. However, I just think A&M's offense is going – I think they're going to pull away late here. I think Mississippi State has had a couple really close games. Look, they got the big win over Arizona State. A couple people are talking about them being ranked. They almost pull off a huge win against Tennessee a week ago. That would have been huge. But I just think they're going to come off the gas a little bit here. I think they're getting a little bit too much hype. I don't think they're all that good. I think they're. I should rephrase that. I think they're good. I just don't think they're Texas A&M level. I think A&M's offense in the second half is going to be able to score a lot of points and pull away from them late. They're also home at A&M. Home environment. Mississippi State's got to go on the road. It's going to be a night game in College Station, so they always like to put on a show, of course, for that crowd. And I'd be stunned here if we're late in the fourth quarter and this thing's all but not a multiple possession game. I think A&M will pull away late. And in fact, I was a little surprised at this spread with Cincinnati, but it almost just makes me like A&M more because I feel like you're going to see a lot of public coming in on Mississippi State saying that's too many points, 14.5. But I think A&M will do enough and win this game by a lot late.
Yeah, I think it opened up 12.5 now, up over the key of 14. I did like the team total in this one. I took Texas A&M team total over 34.5, just a little bonus play because I do think Mississippi State's defense is not good, and I do think Texas A&M is going to put a lot of points up on the board. So a little correlated play there to go along with your minus 14.5. And then lastly here, to round out the plays, I'm going to go Cal plus 3. Last game of the night, 11 p.m. Eastern kick, I think. Against Duke. We got Duke coming cross country playing this Cal team. We took Cal last week. That was a crazy game. If you watched, it was a little appetizer before the 7:30 games. It was back and forth, interceptions, crazy. And Cal got the outright win, which they deserved it. They played really good and kind of controlled that whole game. So again, this one I'm just very shocked that Cal's the underdog here. I thought they'd be the favorite by a couple points. So I just think you're getting a little value at the plus 3. I'll also take them on the money line. I think they'll win this game outright as short underdogs. Big shout out to my cousin Nate, who I've been texting about my Duke picks a lot. I bet them, I think, 4 weeks in a row, and then I got off the train last week, and they did blow out somebody last week. So Duke has been killing me all year. We were on the big time when we got together in person, lost a lot of units there on them. So kind of getting some revenge, hopefully, on Duke football here, who has been losing me a ton of money this year. So give me the Cal Bears, who were nice to me last week, going back to them this week, and I think they're going to get the outright win here, Case, and get a nice little upset.
I like it. A little back-to-back action on Cal there. They were also in one of my parlays last week, so appreciate the input on them. I like it. Cal plus 3. All All right, Paisley. Well, that brings us to what the fans have all been waiting for here, the underdog parlay of the week. I believe you are 4 or 5 or whatever it is and on the picks. We hit our first 2. I was a part of that one, missed the last couple. Who is your underdog of the week to win outright?
Yeah, I know a lot of pressure. 4-0 now. Gotta stay hot here, but a lot of good choices here. But my most confident one, I'm gonna go with Wyoming plus 142 at home against UNLV. Just really selling this UNLV team. I just don't think they're that good. They're playing a little bit better, but kind of the opposite for Wyoming. They started off the year horrendous, but now they're quietly playing some good balls. Watching that Colorado-Wyoming game 2 weeks ago late at night after some of the big-time games. And Wyoming held their own. They really could have won that game outright, and they really showed a lot there. So their offense is just the part that struggles. Their defense is pretty good. So now their offense starting to come around a little bit. Some wacky things always happen up at home there in Wyoming. So I just think this number was 5, 5.5, all the way down to 3.5 now. So a little cheap money line, but I do think Wyoming's the right side here, and I think they get the outright win at home to put a nice staple on a Mountain West victory.
I love it. Plus 142 going to Wyoming action. Paisley, I grew up in the state of Pennsylvania. It has been a great state to grow up in, and I have to go Temple money line here. Temple money line. Like them at plus 200. They play UTSA. They're at home, so UTSA, who's been a decent team all year, it's got to come all the way up to Philadelphia. There'll probably be a couple hundred fans in the crowd, but look, Temple has not been bad. They have 2 losses against Oklahoma and Georgia Tech, 2 really good teams there. They put a pretty decent showing against Georgia Tech. I know you were on Temple a little bit, like you said, pre-podcast. Early in the season, kind of faded them late here, but we've just been seeing so many group of 5 kind of upsets. I got to change it up. I missed my last couple on the Power 4. So give me Temple, and also great odds here at plus 200. Give me the Temple Owls over UTSA.
Yeah, Temple's got a great coach. He's a really not known commodity right now, but I think he just needs some time to build the program because it was so terrible. But I do think they'll get better. Like you said, they played okay against some of these, top tier teams. But UTSA, I was just looking because I feel like I had them last week, not on the page, but I didn't. They only won 17-16 against Colorado State. That game was also after all the 7:30 games. Colorado State's not good, and I remember I was on UTSA and just very shocked. So sometimes it's better when there's no people in the stands for some of these lower level games or lower teams kind of that aren't that good. So I kind of like it their case, and total odds plus 626. So nice little juice on that one. So hopefully we get back on track here and both of us win here and hit the parlay.
Be fantastic. All right, folks. Well, we will be back, I guess, on Saturday night going through the entire slate. Hopefully we hit our underdog parlay of the week, get another win. And yeah, so long. We'll see you guys Saturday night breaking down everything that happened in week 6.